Hi, I'm Diane Lucas, and welcome to Abstract Essay, where ideas take shape, thoughts find depth, and every conversation explores the art of thinking beyond the obvious. And today I have my special guest. He's Army vet, studio, studio legend, punk rock author, and of course, meet the voice behind the chaos and the author of the book, Invasion of the Punk Rockers Who Drink Blood, no other than Mr. Steven Boehm.
Hey, how are you doing?
Fabulous, fabulous, Mr. Steven, yet again. Thank you so much for being my guest on Abstract Essay. And can you please introduce more about yourself? That I
Y-
miss.
Yeah, I'm Steven Boehm. Most know me as Steve Skaggs. Some call me the Reed Richards of Philadelphia hip hop. I'm the co-owner and co-founder of Marson House Recording Studio in Philadelphia. We started the Marson House Ciphers about 15 years ago, so a lot of people know me from that. And yeah, I'm a lifelong musician making my way into the author realm.
Mr. Steve Bowen, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world. We're hoping for more and more empowering books like this, or more empowering legacy to come. So let's talk about how creativity is the worst thing for mental health. Tell us what led you to explore the connection between creativity and its potentially harmful effects on mental health.
Well, as a musician, I think a lot of people do it. You kind of have like a amplified persona, and it may be based in reality, but it's kind of like an offshoot of who you really are, like a character. So anytime I notice for me personally that I'm around a lot of people, I'm on. I'm just like that's the Steve Skaggs persona that I've developed, and it's just I'm on. I have to be myself amplified times 10, kind of just louder, more obnoxious, more in your face, kind of say anything. Um, and it kind of if I get stuck in that for a while, it's hard to get out of it. And while it is definitely based in who I am, it still is just such a big character that it can be ever consuming, and just I'll be stuck in that mode for a while. So and then the other part of creativity that's horrible for mental health is just this for me I'm a ridiculous perfectionist. So even with this book, it took me 20 years to write this book. So I finally got it to a place where I'm happy with it. I this past weekend we were working on the audiobook. I hired a great actor to help me get the audiobook done. And as he's reading through, I'm hearing things that were driving me crazy on my writings still. So it's the perfectionism never stops, and it can really hinder actually like the progress of getting projects done. So I mean, those are just a couple of the things, but yeah, I mean, getting kind of lost in yourself and getting lost in just needing everything to be perfect, it hinders the progress, and it'll just drive you insane. I mean, I've battled with depression. I've battled with plenty of like various mental problems from just losing myself in the creative process. And you get really close to people that you're creative with, and if something happens with them, it can just throw you down a deep spiral. And I've been down many spirals. We'll just say that.
Lots of spirals. But anyway, for sure, you learn from them for sure. When people hear
Yes.
creativity, they often associate with joy and self expression. Why do you think the darkest side is so overlooked?
Well, for me personally, if I'm happy, I actually have a really hard time creating. I don't know why. I know some people can write really well when they're when they're happy. But I think for me personally, my best art comes from suffering. So I know it sounds
Yeah,
crazy, but it
but
does get overlooked. I mean, I think some of the best music, some of the best art, some of the best writing is from sad times, but it gets overlooked because the art makes you feel happy. You could listen to a sad song, read a sad book, and it gives you so many feelings that you're not sad. So you're kind of overlooking what that creator went through to get the product to you, if that makes sense.
makes sense. And do you believe a certain creative fields like art, music, and writing carry higher mental health risk than others?
Oh yeah, I mean, for just off of getting away from everything I just said, the fact that the struggling artist trope is such a big thing. I mean, it's based in reality. I mean, your art is worth everything to you, but it might not have the financial gain that you were looking for. I mean, even my book. I mean, it's done really well, but I put a lot. Was it worth 20 years of time? People could debate on it. For me, it was. I mean, it's my baby, right?
Hmm.
And everything I create is kind of like that for me. But is it financially worth putting in as much time as you do on it?
Yes,
Um, you know, that's a debatable topic, I guess.
definitely. And let's look at the personal and emotional side. Have you personally experienced moments when your own creativity felt like a burden on your mental well being?
Absolutely. A few years back, a really close friend of mine passed away, and I got into this mindset where I was like, I have to like step up and um, do this for him. I have to create all this music. I have to go to every single show. I have to book every single session at the studio. And I would start at 8 a.m. and I'd end at 4 a.m. And then I'd be back the next day doing the same thing. And I think some of my best work came out of that time. But the toll that it took on me mentally, I don't even know if I'm still recovered from that. So I think that people can get really caught up in their creative endeavors and the sacrifices that are made to actually get that stuff done. I don't think there's even like a way to put it into perspective for somebody who's not a creative person. But if you are, you know exactly what I'm saying. You're instantly relating to it, and that could go for any type of creative pursuit. I think you know writing books, writing music, cooking, painting, pretty much any creative activity. You're putting everything that you have into it, and it just kind of everything else that's not part of that just falls to the waysides, and it can really throw your whole life's ecosystem off.
Mr. Steven, how does the pressure to always be original affect mental resilience in creative individuals?
Well, I mean, it definitely will make you resilient if you can survive it. I definitely think that it can weed out some of the people who, can't take that pressure. And then again, couple that with the pressure of rejection. And then now with the internet, anything you do that goes out is subject to the world's approval or disapproval. So if you couple all those things together, you either fold or you persevere. Um, for me, I think there's plenty of things that I've done that people didn't like, and there's plenty of things that I've done that people loved. And I think I'm only able to appreciate the love that I get now from a lot of the rejection that I've gotten in the past. And I have gotten a little bit better with like the perfectionist thing I was talking about earlier. So now if I have music, I won't sit on it as long. I mean, there was a 10-year gap between albums of mine because I just was, it had to be perfect. It had to be perfect. And now I'm dropping way more music, and it might not be everything that I'm super proud of, but I'm proud of myself for getting to this point that I can just push it out there and not just sit on it for a decade or like the book, or right, you know what I mean, work on the book for 20 years. And but again, the positivity that you receive after all the years of rejection will definitely be more appreciated if you can get to that point, you know. So just keep, if you're a creative person listening to this, just keep pushing through, and it'll really boost your mental toughness. That's for sure.
Mr. Steven, if you relate our topic to your book, Invasion of the Punk Rockers, where you can compare?
Well, I mean, I think these kids that are in this book, they're dealing with a lot of real world trauma that I think anybody can relate to. Now, they're also dealing with this as musicians, and they're getting rejection from people in their town and their communities and their families that don't really understand the music. Before any of the creepy stuff happens in the book, they're getting this rejection just from, you know, kids trying to play music. So they're also suffering from, they have conversations with each other about like different things that need to happen to make the music perfect for them. But ultimately, they just get out there and start performing. And they perform, and the crowd starts growing, and the audience starts growing. And then they get into the creepy stuff, and then they have to have mental toughness for other reasons. But yeah, I think the kids in this book, they go through that same the same pressures of being creative that all of us do. Even in the book, the manager and all of them, when they're meeting each other and they're coming together to perform together for the first time, there's a bit of nervousness of like, am I good enough to do this? Is this person good enough to do it with us? You know, for the manager, it's just like, am I qualified enough, even though she's the most qualified person, to lead this group? So, you know, even I guess that's something that is so engraved into my brain that it came out in the writing.
Hmm, interesting. Mr. Steven, and what role does self criticism or perfectionism play in the link between creativity and poor mental health?
Well, I mean, for me, I have still probably have 4 or 5 albums that I'm sitting on, and again, now I'm working on the sequel to this book and another book that I kind of started at a similar time, trying to wrap that up. So it's hard for me to start new projects while the old ones are taking up space in the back of my head. I feel like I can't fully dedicate myself to new stuff until I get this old stuff out. And it does drive me a little crazy because I'll have all these ideas and I want to do something, or somebody will ask me to be a part of something, and then I feel like I can't give 100% of myself there, you know, to that project until whatever else is, you know, out of my head. Once it's released, it's kind of gone. It's, you know, it's a huge relief, but it's just it clouds up your memory, it clouds up your brain. You're just, you know, it's kind of something you think about 24/7 without even realizing. It's just like, oh, what am I going to do? This is, you know, it has to be perfect. It has to be great before I can release it to the world. And, you know, even on my best stuff, I've had some songs in movies, and the books hit a few top 10 lists and all this. It's relative to the audience. You know, we're not talking about, there's not a copy of this book in every single person's hands in the world, right? Maybe then if you know that there's going to be a book like that, maybe the perfectionism is warranted. But for something like this, even if it sold millions, there's still billions of people that won't read it. So what are you holding yourself up for? Just get the thing done, get it as close as possible, and kind of just unlock. Like let yourself breathe a little bit. I need to take my own advice because I'm not fully I'm not fully doing that yet. But one day I plan on being there.
Unlike your potential, people. And
Yes.
definitely external pressures. How do deadline, commercial expectations, or public opinion contribute to stress for creative people?
Well, it depends on who all's involved. I think if you have an agent, if you have management, if you're working with a record label, all these people expect you to have things done in a timely manner. Now you can. For books, like I have a pre-release date that my agent set for me for the sequel, and I am starting to stress out about it a little bit because I don't think I'm far enough in this process to meet this deadline. I'm going to do my best, but also there are outside life factors that all artists have to deal with that can make it hard to create. Being creative is something that kind of strikes when the iron is hot, and then it can dissipate pretty quickly. So falling to these pressures, there you might get 50 calls about, are you doing this? Are you checking this off? It's check-ins. It's just kind of being put in the outside people will put a little bit of pressure while you're then putting more pressure on yourself because you're like, oh no, what happens if I don't meet this deadline? Am I going to lose my deal? Am I going to, is my agent going to drop me? Is my management going to drop me? And typically that's not the case. There might be some disappointment, but I don't think anything's really worth putting the pressure on yourself like most creatives do. But yeah, stay the course. Just do your best. Do your best.
Do your best, and the other will do the rest for sure.
Right.
So, can the competitive nature of creative industries amplify feelings of anxiety, depression, or inadequacy?
Well, for me personally, and I don't know if this is just like the soldier in me because I did spend 12 years in the military, but I love competition. If I see somebody doing something, I want to do it better automatically. So I like competition, but I do know that people have an unhealthy obsession with comparing themselves to other people. For me, I've always been, and this is part of that Steve Skaggs character I was talking about. And remember, it's amplified times 100, but it is rooted in reality. But I've always felt like there's nothing I can't do. And if somebody's doing something, I could do it and possibly do it better, or at least just as good as them. So as far as writing, I think that my writing is very strong. And as far as like my music, I think my music is very strong. I think I can play with anybody. I think I can go up against anybody. But at the same time, I'm also a very collaborative person. So I'm not looking for competition if there is none. If my agent's pushing a couple people at the same time, that's more of a competition than just me and my friends working on some writing or creative writing project together. I'm not out here looking for the competition. I'm not comparing myself to anybody unless it is a competition. Then I love it. If it's a competition, let's go. But I'm not going to make one out of nowhere just because I think that's where the fall off would begin for the deep mental disturbance. Just finding competition in nothing would not be a good thing for me. That's probably what gambling addicts
Mhm.
go through, I'd say.
So, Mr. Steven, how does rejection, whether from publishers, galleries, or audiences, impact mental health differently for creative personalities?
Well, I mean, I know when looking for an agent and for writing, this was my first book, so I didn't really know all the steps. And I just went online. I'm reading through Readsly and all these other websites on how to get an agent, how to write a query letter. And I probably wrote 150 query letters. And I don't think I really got many responses. And I was pretty much ready to give up. And I just started doing everything on my own. I was just like, all right, look, I'm going to just book a copy editor. I'm going to book a advanced reader. And I just started getting everybody kind of in place. I got a developmental editor. And then once all that stuff was done, I got the formatting done. I went and got all the artwork done. I had my good friend Greg Hess do the internal artwork, and I started booking all these like plans for library speakings and tattoo party and all these different things. And then the agent popped up like, oh, well, you kind of have all your stuff in order. So let's work.
Mhm.
And I think that the rejection in the beginning actually motivated me with this, because I was so used to, 20 years of being a touring musician, used to rejection in that world. So I was kind of like more open and ready just to do it on my own. And it just came out of nowhere. So I think it goes back to the question you asked about the mental fortitude. If you're able to survive in this business for long enough, the rejection stops bothering you. But in the beginning, that stuff can definitely hurt and take a toll on you. And if you can push through it, you'll be right here, and people be lining up to sell your product.
What are some warning signs that creativity is beginning to damage rather than support someone's mental health?
Well, for me, I start disassociating. So I had gotten diagnosed. When my friend passed away, and I was going so hard trying to like fill this epic gap in my life. I ended up having just a full mental breakdown, and I don't have a problem talking about anything, so I'll be 100% honest. And I was under a bridge, just like sobbing my eyes out. I was supposed to go meet somebody for a studio session, and I just could not pull myself together to get there. And I ended up going to the Philadelphia Crisis Center, and they came and talked to me, and I went and saw a psychiatrist, and they basically said that they thought I had borderline personality disorder and dissociation disorder. I had never really heard of either of those. They wanted to put me on a bunch of medicine and all this stuff, and I tried taking it, trazodone and Paxil and ariprazole, and all that stuff. It just made me not. I felt like a zombie. I felt like I couldn't create, which was even worse for my mental health than the pressure you put on yourself from creating. So I got off all that stuff, and now my telltale signs, if I'm driving myself like crazy with a project, is I'll start disassociating and thinking that nothing in the world is real. That's like my telltale sign. I'll just be like, oh well, it doesn't even matter. We live in the Matrix.
Definitely.
Yeah, that's where I'll
Matrix.
get.
Matrix indeed. And Mr. Steven, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to listen to my other podcast, people, my other podcast, because, wow, my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and of course, my book 101 review in fifth season too, and comedy 101 in second season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well. Geography 101 in fourth season, and my baby podcast Law 101 and Mental Health 101. Love letters in second season, and Movie 101 review and Music 101 in its fourth season, and Science 101 and Sex 101 in its first season. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcasts. So, Mr.
You're the king
Steven,
of podcasts.
thank you.
You are the king of podcasts.
Thank you. Ultimately, do you believe creativity is inherently dangerous to mental health, or is it more about how we approach and sustain it?
I don't think it's inherently dangerous to mental health. I think that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves as creatives. But if you have a good support system, then I think you'll be all right. Honestly, like it's a catch-22 because you're gonna have these struggles if you're not creating, and the creativity is the outlet. I know when I'm for all the creative problems that I have that do make me spiral, not being creative is so much worse. It's like this pressure just builds and builds and builds, and there's no other activities I can do to fully get me back to reality. So it's definitely, if you feel the urge to create something, I always encourage people to do it. Take this trip, even if you are prone to mental stress and mental disorders. It's a great relief. Just try your hardest to have a good support system, and I think you'll be okay.
Definitely, you will be okay, people. Just have faith. Just like Mr. Steven Boehm. And tell us, Mr. Steven, about the book itself. Please make the summary.
Yeah, so it's a found family novel about a group of 5 kids who they struggle in the real world with the real world monsters. They find each other and they start doing their thing, and then some supernatural creatures come and try to take that away from them. They try to pick off the people who have been deemed as undesirables, and they through the strength of love and friendship, well, I'm not going to go too much further, but they really come together. We'll say, I don't want to spoil, but yeah, it's something I think that everybody can relate to, and really feel good about after you read.
For sure, feel good about it. And thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom to the world, Mr. Steven, and looking forward for more and more empowering books like this to come. So can you please invite our listeners to support your advocacy, your projects, or anything that you're doing right now?
Yeah, just look me up at letsgoguy.com or steveskaks.com. That's SXAKS. All my social media is at Steve Skaks. You can get in touch with me on any of those. So please reach out to me. I look forward to talking to all of you.
Yes, people, let's support Mr. Steven Boehm, because if you support him, for sure, as I said, more and more empowering books like this to come. So, Mr. Steven, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
More to come, people. See you soon.